Hello, and welcome to the Our Prenup Lawyer podcast, where you and I get to learn more about prenups as I interview professionals from the fields of family law, couples counseling, and wealth management. I'm your host, Libby Garabedian. Let's get started. The information provided in this podcast is prepared by Our Prenup Lawyer for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. The information is not intended to create an attorney-client relationship. This is not legal advice or a substitute for obtaining legal advice from an attorney. A person listening or watching should not rely upon it in any manner without engaging professional counsel. The podcast is intended to communicate general information and, because recorded, may not be current. On this episode of Our Prenup Lawyer podcast, I'm joined by Kris Byrnes. Kris is an Australian step-parent coach who specializes in helping blended families navigate the emotional and practical challenges of step-family life. As the host of the Stepparent podcast, she brings honest conversations, expert insights, and real-world strategies to parents building connection across complex family dynamics. Kris's work has become a trusted resource for families seeking harmony, resilience, and healthier relationships in their blended homes. Welcome, Kris.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here.
Of course, I'm excited to have you on the podcast. I can't wait to learn more about you and what you do.
Great, let's get started.
Awesome. So how did you become the step-parent coach?
Okay, so I became a stepmom at around 24 years young. I am now 34, so 10 years deep into step parenting. I have my own two beautiful children, along with my two gorgeous stepdaughters who are now teenagers. And what I really found at the beginning of my journey was that there was no rule book, there was no resources, and I started jumping into personal development and growth off the basis of looking for step parenting support. There was nothing there. So what was there was personal development. And once I got stuck into that and started learning about my patterns, my behaviors, who I was at my core, what are my values? What do I want? I really started to unpack who I was and all of my wounds and, of course, all of my triggers. And what I really found was step parenting was a big part of my wounds coming up from childhood, things that I had not dealt with, because, you know, you've got little girls that might have big feelings and throwing tantrums, and you think you got it covered, but what you recognize is they're not actually yours to parent. So you have to do things in a way that it's like, oh, strip back the layers of who I am. I dove into all of that to summarize. Spent a lot of time on myself, working on myself. I have invested multi six figures into my skill set and development to be the version of a step parent that can show up, can be triggered and resolve and dissolve triggers as quickly as I can to ensure that I am raising my kids to the best of my abilities and to the highest standard of myself. But I have been in the game for about 10 years, and a lot of lessons came along the way. And one of the biggest things was that no one I spoke to really understood. I have worked with mentors and coaches over the years, and none of them really got it, what I was going through. So I decided to become the resource. I decided to become the person that people can have in their corner, the person that can understand and validate what they're going through, whilst also educating them, teaching them to do better, and holding that radical responsibility within themselves. That's a really big piece and adoption to have in your mindset, because the sooner you start taking accountability for all of the areas in your life that you're struggling with in terms of step parenting, the easier things are going to get. But that's a bit of a road that my clients do take with me to get to that point. But yeah.
That's amazing. I'm sure it's been wonderful for you to see your progress from 24 to now 34, and how these relationships have changed. So what's the most important thing you've learned from your own experiences as a step parent?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that for me is you can't control what is going on outside your home. You can only control your home. They're putting your energy and focus and emotions into what might or might not be happening outside of your home is only going to damage the inside walls of your home and how you feel. What anyone else is going through in the terms of the adults, it's actually none of your business. So you need to bring things back to owning your truth, being in your power, and not allowing the emotions of other people to dictate your home and your rule book and what you're feeling.
And I do want to ask you more about the co-parenting in a minute, but first, what do you think most people misunderstand about the step parent role?
they're not their real parent. And I get comments. I was actually just reading some from another podcast episode, and multiple comments from biological parents saying, "But you're not their real parent, and no one expects you to do this, and you shouldn't have signed up for the role if you knew what you were getting into. They're not your real kids." Okay, tell my stepdaughters that. Tell them that, because we're 10 years in and they consider me a parent. They have three parents. We make decisions. Big decisions would be made as the three of us. Um, Tell them that when they are unwell with gastro, that I'm not their real parent. Tell them that when I'm doing all the running around in the school errands and here and there, and I'm signing forms and I'm getting things done medical wise, like whatever they need, I show up as their parent. So I think that's probably the biggest piece. Is it's a misconception. No, you're not their real parent. I'm not mum. I am not, and I never will be. But I am stepmom, and I get to own that role in my home, and that's a choice. If I was dad's girlfriend, or I didn't want to do any of that, then sure, but I don't get to have the best parts of it as well, being that I don't get to hold that title of step parent if I'm not showing up as one. But I think that's really important for women and men to take back into their control, is what label do they want to have? What do they want to hold? What responsibility do they want in their home?
Right. And what's that transition like going from mom or dad's boyfriend, girlfriend to your step parent and having that such a special role in the children's lives?
I think that when you are blending a family, you want children to feel safe emotionally. You want them to feel seen and heard and loved. I come from a childhood of my parents divorced when I was 8. I had different men and women in my life who were step parents or dad's girlfriend or mum's boyfriend, right? Uh, but I was never treated as a child in the home that was their child. I was treated as second best, or that's not mine. That's nothing to do with me. That's your kid. You look after her, kind of thing. I didn't feel loved. I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel enough. Because the thing is, these are adults that are standing in the home, but they serve as parents as well. And I think it's just really important that, yeah, you need to show up in the capacity that's emotionally safe for a child. That's the focus. And if you can't do that, blending a home and living together full time might not be for you. You might be better living separately and living independent lives if you're not willing to be a step parent. But that's a whole other conversation and topic.
And I do want to get to that also later, but when someone is back on the market and they're dating, what should a parent not do when they're introducing their significant other to their children?
Couple of things here. I think that how there's always respect. If you've got a healthy co-parenting relationship with an ex-partner, there's a respect and things like that, where you let them know in courtesy, right? But if you don't have a healthy co-parenting relationship with that partner, the other piece is don't keep it a secret. There's no need to be deceitful. You be honest, you be truthful, you be factual, but you do not show emotion. This is a person that is coming into our child's life. Our child is aware of this. It will be done in a healthy environment. If you have questions, if you have concerns, you are welcome to give me those. But outside of anything else, that's not at liberty for us to discuss. I think it's really important that the two biological parents, don't bring emotion into it, right? Because that's where things are going to go a little bit haywire. I can imagine that you would understand that being in the position that you are. The other thing is make sure your kid is ready. If you have just sold the family home, and you have just decided the family dog's going to live at dad's house and the kids see dad every second weekend, and there's been some massive transitions already, now's not the time. Take a beat. I know that you and your boyfriend or you and your girlfriend really want to say, like, show the kids that you're happy and move on with your life. And I get that. And that is something that adults deserve. But in the same sentence, just pop it on hold for a tick. Your time will come. Right now, it's time to get your kids emotionally well and feeling really stable. And that needs structure and routine and consistency and time.
Right. I like how you said making sure that your kids are emotionally well because there are such these big life transitions and obviously trying to remain objective as children navigate these new patterns is very difficult. But what communication patterns tend to cause the most friction in blended families?
Emotion. Being reactive, not responsive. Being triggered by your own crap that you're going through. Blaming mum, blaming dad, being stuck in victimhood is where that happens. I think people often are so fast to blame the other parent And yeah, sure, some of them make it really easy to blame, right? Some of them are doing all of the wrong things, and it makes it pretty easy to say this is all your fault and this is why the child is the way they are. But it also is you're the parent and you're the adult, and you can only be stay a victim for so long and keep yourself stuck in that energy. I really think that adopting that mindset of how is this on me? How did I create this? I have a client who contacted me on the weekend to say like this child has come home and they've acted out really dramatically in terms of false accusations and lots of lies that come out. And he had come home after about a week with mum. Now, said child was reprimanded and punished and all of the things that you would do as a parent when the child's lying and doing really awful things and behaviors. But what I explained to her was that first 24 hours, like what I'm hearing and seeing is that child's looking for attention. He's just craving love in any which way. His feelings are so out of place. He's had a week where he was partially, I will say, neglected because he's on his own. He is young and on his own a lot, making his own dinners, which looks like Wheat Bix or Fruit Loops, allowed to watch TV, the iPad time's unlimited, fall asleep on the iPad. There's a lot of different things that have affected his ability to self-regulate and self-soothe. So he's come home to the safe adults and he's gone haywire, right? And rule of thumb, 24 hours. Give a child 24 hours to come back to the home that they're in, the place, the adults that they're with, to notice in their body, oh, I'm safe here. Oh, okay, I can take a breath. I don't have to be responsible for X, Y, Z, or I don't have to hold mum's emotions or dad's emotions. I don't have to be their therapist or their best friend. I think there's a lot, yeah, in that. So that 24-hour rule is something that I would really encourage families to do when you're doing that transition, when you're blending. 24 hours, give everyone and give yourselves permission to have that break. Get takeaway. Make it easy. Don't sit at a table and force a child to eat vegetables that's been up at a different home and hasn't eaten a vegetable for a week, right? Don't put that pressure on the family. Just make it a little bit more lighthearted.
So, in addition to the 24-hour rule, what advice would you give when co-parenting expectations differ dramatically between households?
Keep things very factual and in writing. There is no need to have long-winded conversations and meetings and things like this where you've got different opinions, trying to get the other parent to see you and to agree with you when you know that they don't want to do the thing that you want them to do. It's like you're just wanting to be liked. You're just wanting that validation. You're not going to get it. So come back to truth, come back to simplicity, come back to facts, no emotion. And sometimes that makes a really healthy co-parenting relationship, right? I think that we call it parallel parenting, but there's nothing wrong with it. You are two people that separated. You don't have to like each other anymore, right? And I think there's a lot in the social media space that's telling us about, these co-parents that go on holidays together, and that's awesome. And I love that. People that can do that and want to be best friends, and sometimes the stepmoms and the mums become best mates, and you see all of these happy, beautiful co-parenting families. And a lot of women that come to me are saying, fuck, like I feel heavy from this. I feel like I should be able to do this. Why can't we have this? Why can't I want this? But sometimes that's actually not healthy because mum and dad broke up for a reason. They're different people. They don't want to be in each other's lives anymore. So why are you putting that pressure on yourself to want to be liked, or have someone agree with you? I think there needs to be a happy medium. Compromise. You have to compromise, but keep, as I said, text, emails, keep it really simple. Don't overwhelm yourself with crazy long phone calls and meetings and drop-offs and things like that, where it's like you stand out the front and have these big conversations where there's no resolution. It just ends up in an argument. That's not healthy. And you can protect your peace by avoiding that.
Right. And everyone's timeline, everyone's environment dynamics look different. There's no use in comparing yourself, like you said.
Absolutely not. No. If you can go and be besties, awesome. That's great. I love that. That's great for kids. And if you can't, that's great too, right? Just work out, what does a healthy co-parenting relationship look like for me and my family?
Now, when you do have step parents who come to you and their partner's asking for support on how to co-parent, right? How do you guide them so they're not getting involved in old conflicts or drama?
So a couple of things that I like to recommend. There's a certain thing that I tell all my clients when I work with them, and the first rule of thumb is stop talking about the ex at the dinner table. She and he are not welcome at dinner. You are allowing them to have a seat at your table every time that you sit and you vent to each other overnight. Stop bringing the ex into the bedroom. So you finally get time together. Usually that's at nighttime. You lay down, your head hits a pillow, and what do you know? You're sitting there for an hour venting about an ex-partner and what they did that day. That is such an unhealthy thing for your relationship. So those are two things I really do recommend straight off the bat. And the other thing is setting the 3-minute timer rule. So there's a text that comes through. Let's say husband screenshots it and sends it to new wife. New wife sitting next to her best friend says, "Oh my God, you look at the thing that I've just got." 3-minute timer. You get 3 minutes to talk about it and then turn it off and turn it away. Respond to your husband. "I'm sorry that happened. This is really hard. Let's have 3 minutes tonight where I can hold space for you, and then let's close it out." Because once you start repeating one story and one problem, you're going to go through every single thing that they've ever done to you, and there's a long line, and you just keep going and going and going, and you don't get over it. And the energy, it leaks into your relationship, your marriage, your blended family, the way you parent. So the best thing is just have some boundaries and structures and some some anchors in the home as such that can really ground you as a couple to come back to each other and connection and having a healthy, thriving home.
In addition to those boundaries and those rules for reactions, how can partners maintain intimacy and connection in the relationships while they're navigating complex family dynamics?
I think a great couple of things that you can communicate to each other is, firstly, how can I best support you today? Just asking that question out loud. Send it as a text. You can set up, I think in the iPhone now, like like calendar text, where it's a text that comes every morning or whatever. Set that up. Why not? Ask your partner what they need from you today to feel supported. The other thing is, don't constantly be the one that's trying to solve the problem. So husband comes to you with a problem and an issue with the ex, and you're like, "Oh my God, solution based. Let's go. Let's find the answers." Sometimes he just wants you to hold space for him. And that's the same for anyone in a relationship where there's co-parenting involved. Sometimes it's not about a solution, because you can't change everything straight away. You can't fix it all straight away. You can't make someone like you that doesn't like you. What you can do is choose how you show up and choose how you respond. Sometimes that looks like just holding space and listening. Just listen to the person that is going through the thing and don't have an answer. Just say, "I'm here for you and I'm sorry that you're going through this." I think that does wonders in a relationship, to stay connected. In a lot of areas of my own life, I've had a breakdown in relationship with my brother, with my father. There's been, friendship breakdowns over the years, things like that. And a lot of the time my husband would come in with protection and solution-based and the answers to the problem, right? Cut them off, do this, do that. And it's not what I needed. I needed him to just hold space. So now we have that communication where it's like, "Babe, can you just hold space for me in this? I'm going to share something with you." I think vulnerability in a relationship is so important, because that everyone will tell you it's communication, right? But if you're not communicating with vulnerability, you're actually not owning your truth. And if you're not owning your truth, you're not able to communicate what you need and want, right? So be vulnerable, lean into that. Ask your partner what they need from you, what they expect from you. Something that we call covert contracts is the unconscious expectations that we place on our partners. And that can be something as simple like a covert contract or unconscious expectation. We've always had in our relationship is my husband does the bins. We never talked about it. I never asked him to do it. He just does it. And for that purpose, if he ever turned around and said to me, "Well, you don't help with the bins," that would be so offensive to me, because I just unconsciously have that expectation on him. So we've had conversations in our home to be like, "Well, my covert contract for you is the bins, you do the pool, you do the backyard, I'll keep the washing, I'll do the kitchen, I'll do this," right? And we both have our sort of role and title, and that's something that's a physical thing. But unconscious expectations can also look like communication. And I expect you to reply to my text message when I send one, not just give me a ring 3 hours later and say, "Oh, yeah, sorry, saw that. I was busy," right? So having that vulnerability around, what do you currently have as a covert contract for your partner that they don't even know that you've got on them? So when they don't do it, you're mad or sad and you don't communicate it, or you do communicate it, sorry. And they're like, "What are you even talking about? Like, we've never talked about this. I didn't know that you wanted that from me or expected that from me." Dropping, so let's say you guys have 50-50 custody of his children and you're doing all the pickups and drop-offs just because you started doing it one day, right? And then you get mad when he doesn't do it, or you're becoming more resentful. Open the door of communication with vulnerability, saying, "Hey, I don't want to be the only parent running this. This isn't for me. I get really triggered or anxious when I'm dropping them off or picking them up. I feel like I took on the role to protect you and now I'm feeling resentful towards you." Have that conversation. Don't avoid it. Rather than going in on the attack, i.e., "You never take them, I'm the one that does everything," you allow yourself to be a victim or martyr victim, right? Where it's like, I feel sorry for me or feel bad for me. But also I'm the one that does everything and you do nothing. So the covert contract thing can play out in lots of different ways in blended families and co-parents. And I think the sooner that you take responsibility and ownership over what are your expectations on someone that you haven't communicated, then you can get that return conversation from them.
And that resentment, like you mentioned, can build up and then it leads to a breakdown of that relationship even more, right?
Correct.
So, what conversations, in keeping with this communication, what conversations do you think couples should have before blending households?
Mm, great question. I think couples should come up with some non-negotiables, i.e., once a month we have a date night, i.e., where you never go to bed without saying I love you, i.e., when you're angry, you don't leave the house. You can go anywhere in the home for space. You ask for space, you don't leave. There will be triggers in the new relationship that are from the old relationship that may trigger, that if like narcissistic traits that someone might have been dealing with, or abuse. There's so many things that can trigger things in the new relationship. So that new relationship, you're looking at blending, you're looking at moving in together. Come up with the non-negotiables and be really clear with that, and be both of you really accountable to. If you break that, there's a huge problem that needs to be addressed, because you'll lose trust. When it comes to the kids, it's like, what am I okay with? What am I not okay with? I worked with a client who really had quite an issue with the kid coming. It was a young boy, I think he was about 7 or 8, when they moved in together, and she had a really big problem with him coming and jumping into bed with dad in the middle of the night. And I just said to her, that's his safe space. So if you're not comfortable with that, I would encourage you to jump out of the bed. And she's like, but it's my room and I want to feel like, I don't want to walk on eggshells. And I'm like, it's not eggshells, but that's his safe space. Or alternatively, talk to your husband and say, hey, when he comes in, I need you to grab him and you guys go out and jump into his bed. Go and buy the kid a double bed so dad can get back into bed with him. Then you get to stay in the bed. What's the situations that you're not cool with, and what can you do to create them to be better, right? Rather than making a child responsible and making a child carry shame for any behaviors that they're experiencing in wanting to be close with their biological parent in the transition. I personally have never minded my girls jumping into bed with us. That's never been an issue. And they did quite young, like from the start, quite early. And I actually really didn't like it. Didn't bother me whatsoever. It was interesting the other day. One of them actually come up and jumped into bed with me in the morning. And I said, "Hey, is everything okay?" And she's like, "Yeah, I just wanted a cuddle." I was like, okay, I'll take this. You're a teenager. Really? Really? So that was really beautiful. But I can't imagine that 10 years on, if I hadn't done that with them when they were little, I can't imagine 10 years down the track she'd ever feel comfortable to do that. Like, she's a teenager now. So yeah, I think clear, intentional boundaries, non-negotiables. Where are your values? What's important to you? What do you want to feel like at the end of the day? And what are you both doing to create that in your home?
In addition to the non-negotiables and setting those with your partner, what does establishing healthy boundaries with stepchildren look like?
Again, vulnerability and communication. Have a chat with them. Age dependence, right? And if you really struggle to hold up communication in a healthy way, like if you struggle not to be reactive or triggered with a child, I suggest that you write a letter and you read that, say, hey, I've written you a letter and I want to read this out to you so that I can get it right, and so that you feel so that we can have a conversation around what we need from each other. And also I think the best thing to start off with would be ask them what they need from you. And then you can be like, cool. So thank you for sharing that with me. I.e., they might say to you, I just want to be with my dad and you're always here, right? And that
Mhm.
could be really triggering to hear for a stepmom. That could be really hurtful to hear for a stepmom. But if you respond with, oh, I get that, I get that. We do live together now, so I am here way more often than before. But what we can do, why don't we create a time of day where it's just you and dad? And you guys get to go do something fun together, whether it's play cards in your room or go out to the playground. Like, what time of day works for the family? So the stepmom seems like she's really trying to create that, and they could be like, oh yeah, perfect, that's great, right? They're just craving a bit of one-on-one time with the biological parent, and maybe in the week-to-week structures where it's Monday through to Friday and their school routine, they're not really getting any of that. Whereas when they all live together, maybe they were getting that, and that's the thing that's missing. So having an awareness to that conversation, and age appropriate, of course.
So it's not about taking it personally, is what you're saying.
Oh, for sure. Never take what a child says is not Bible. My goodness, things have been said over the years where I'm like, yeah, that's not really what I said, but yeah, I get it. Even recently, something was said by one of my kids. They said something along the lines of, "Oh, Dad hates it when we bring up the countries he's been to." And I repeated it to my husband, and he was like, "What? What?" I think they were asking him about the cost of something once, and he was like, "I don't really want to talk about the cost of what I spent on this hotel room," because I was asking him how much was that per night or something. I can't remember specifically. It was a while ago, but that was the perception, how it was received and how it's being held is Dad hates talking about it places he goes to, and I was like, "That's not true." So they've had a conversation around that. What kids say isn't Bible. Oh my gosh, just be responsible of your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors with your stepkids, because they're hearing and perceiving things like sponges, but they're also not retaining it like it actually happened. We believe in NLP, and that's what my background is, neuro linguistic programming. And we believe in NLP that our unconscious mind takes in 2 billion bits per second, whilst our conscious mind takes in 134. So there is a vast difference of what you're receiving as actual truth to a circumstance and what's unconsciously being embedded in that moment. Just be aware of that.
That's the kind of mindset shifts that's going to transform family relationships dynamics into something more compassionate and patient.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think patience, again, what you just said there, I love that so much. Patience is the piece that you need when you're blending your family. Be gentle, be kind, be compassionate with your thoughts, and just be gentle with yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Letting yourself know it's okay because it's a new situation for you too. You haven't navigated this before. You don't know what you're getting yourself into, right?
For sure, you're in a role that no one has trained you for, right?
Yeah. So how do you help step parents build connection with kids over time rather than just trying to force it immediately?
I encourage them to bring themselves back to their childhood. And let's, for a moment, you can probably answer this question for me. Take a moment to think about what you liked to do when you were 7. Think of something that was fun, that made you giggle or laugh. Was it skipping? Was it playing chess? Was it, what's the piece? What would it be for you?
Oh man, probably playing with my dog.
Cool. So let's say you don't have a dog in the home, but you do have 2 stepkids. What would happen if you took them to a place where you can buy puppies and you just played with puppies for a little bit, and then you went and did something else, or you took them out to a farm and you let them play with like there's dog farms and things around where you can actually, I think, like dog therapy, therapeutic dogs, puppies. How beautiful that would be. That's something you like, right? So think about what
Mhm.
you liked when you were their age. Take yourself to their mindset and their age. Find something that brought you joy, and you can connect over that. Maybe you can talk about your childhood dog. Maybe they can want to see a photo of your childhood dog. There is so many things that you could then draw on and relate to with your stepchild to connect on their level with. The other thing on that is what don't require them to validate you. So a lot of stepmoms just want to be liked straight away. So they overcompensate, they overgive, they overdeliver, they purchase all the things. Like I remember there was a time where I just wanted to make sure my girls were happy before school. Like that was my intention of just like they were in the best headspaces before school. We were always ready at 7 o'clock. So we went to 3 parks some days, 3 on the way to school.
Wow.
They'd ask, I'd say yes. They'd ask, I'd say yes. And it was like they now go like, remember when we used to do this? You don't do this for Jesse and Lola, which are my 2 kids. I'm like, yeah, because fuck, I wanted to be liked. There was a piece of me that wanted that validation, right? And I just encourage stepmoms, don't do that. Don't be that. Just connect and do what's best for your family. But in the same line, just don't over deliver because you will burn out.
Yeah, I can imagine. That sounds like a lot, trying to meet all their needs, but then go past them to try to find out what else they might want to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, what is one thing you want listeners to remember from our conversation?
Great question. I think you're in a role no one trains you for. And there is access to resources now, and you can find those through myself, and there's a few other people in the space. But as Australia's leading coach for step parents and blended families, I really just invite you to take ownership over you're in a role no one trained you for. You're not expected to know it all. So step into building your awareness and doing the work and learning new things and being responsible of that. If you are in the role and you are stuck, there are resources now available. My podcast is there. It's a free, accessible tool that you can binge listen to. There's so many episodes there and so many more coming. I have free tools on my website as well that you can jump over into and check out. I think that you are not meant to know it all. Just accept that and start taking accountability for how you can do better.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, now as we wrap up, what is the best way listeners can reach you if they're interested in connecting?
Great. So all of my socials are Step Parent Coach. You can reach me via my email, chris@thestepparentcoach.com, and jump over to the website, of course, which is www.thestepparentcoach.com. There is so many tools accessible there for you to, just to encompass. My books are closed until 2027, but I do have on my online offer as my signature course, the Step Parent Standard, which is a 6 modules, and they are video. So you get your own login and you've got lifetime access to these 6 videos. Like, this is everything I know compounded into 6 videos. They're short, they're fast, they're sharp, but they get you where you need to go in terms of learning those first few steps of accountability, radical responsibility, emotional intelligence, and how you can show up differently as a step parent. I would highly, highly recommend jumping into that course or program. And yeah, if you are interested in working with me one-on-one in coaching with me is a different level. It is close proximity, fast results. We move at a different speed. And my clients can attest to that. Jump on that wait list because I'm sure a few spots will come up over the next 12 months. But yeah, my books are closed until 2027, which I'm so grateful for. It's hard because there's so many people I want to help and be there for, but I can't be there for everyone. So please jump on the wait list so you can be notified when there are positions available to work with me one-on-one. But if you're looking for the starting point of changing your behaviors, I recommend the Step Parent Standard.
Well, those sound like some great resources, and we'll make sure to link your website in the show notes so people know where to find you.
Well, thank you so much. This has been such a cool chat, and I'm so grateful that I get to speak with you all the way on the other side of the world.
Of course. Yeah, it was wonderful speaking with you and having you share your insight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's our show, folks. Thank you for listening to our Prenup Lawyer. Make sure to like and subscribe, and feel free to drop a comment below. Follow us on Instagram at Our Prenup Lawyer, and listen to us on Spotify, iHeart, Apple Podcasts, Audible, and watch us on YouTube. See you guys next time.